Randall Hughes with God Glorified, and we're commenting today for July the 23rd from our reading from the Reese Chronological Bible. We began at Isaiah 22. We read Isaiah 34, 35, and then 2 Kings 20, 2 Chronicles 32, Isaiah 38, and then Isaiah 40. And I probably went a little longer than I should have, but I didn't feel like I'd gone far enough when I got to 40, and 40 is just such a great chapter, I had to finish it. And so there's some awesome things in the Word today. The first talked about the imminent invasion of Israel and that Jerusalem, the walls broken down. And there's a point where God says, there's too much sin, there's got to be judgment. And that's where he was in verse 14. He says, it's not going to be purged till you die. And so you can push God too far. God is merciful. He is faithful. He is just. But there was a point where he said, this is happening. Now, he may have delayed it for Hezekiah. And some criticize Hezekiah. I can only be good for me. And I don't mean to, and when I say that, that's not totally true, because I do believe by me being good, doing the best I can, that I am blessing my family, blessing my children. And so I believe that is important. But when the judgment's coming out from God that's saying, hey, this is what's happening, all I can do is say, I'm going to humble myself before God, and who knows if he'll be merciful on them. I'll be the example for them to follow. And by God's grace, they will follow. But if they don't, I can only live my life for me. At the end of the day, I'm not responsible for all the choices they make. I can try to shape them. I can try to be the example in front of them. But it's up to them. They make their own choices. And so the indignation from Yahweh has come. The tribulation is thought to be in reference in chapter 34, and that he's delivering them to the slaughter. And notice this is for all the armies, all the nations. And it's the sword of the Lord shall be bathed in heaven, and it shall be filled with blood. And so but 35 follows with victory ahead. And so thankful to know that the wilderness will blossom one day, and there'll be streams in the desert, and he's going to recompense, he's going to save. The deaf ears and some of the things we saw fulfilled in Jesus Christ on earth, I believe they are going to come again in the millennial reign. There'll be a level of that fulfilled a second time. And then chapter 20 of 2 Kings, and then chapter 32 of 2 Chronicles and Isaiah 38 all talked about Hezekiah's sickness, him turning to the wall and praying and saying, God, you know, I've tried to live my life the best I can. He said, I've been perfect before you. Done that which is good in thy sight with a perfect heart. And so God said, I've heard your prayer. I've seen your tears, and I will heal thee. Turn back the clock 10 degrees. And so amazing thing there. And so Isaiah 38, his thankfulness for the healing God brought, for saving him. And then Isaiah 40, the book of Isaiah is an amazing book. Let me just say this, and I don't know, I've tried to be as brief as I can on this because I went so long on the reading, but it's divided into 66 chapters. And what we read today was the 40th chapter, as well as some prior. But the 40th chapter is like the breaking point. When you think about the Old Testament and the New Testament, and I don't know if anybody really was thinking about this when they divided up the book of Isaiah, but the first 39 chapters are talking about judgment, large in part, the pending judgment, the wrath of God. And then you started with Isaiah 40, which would be like the New Testament, 39 books in the Old Testament, 27 in the New. The last 27 chapters talk much about the Messiah coming, preparing the way of Yahweh. And that's what John the Baptist did. And so this was prophetic, fulfilled in John the Baptist. And so some amazing things. Behold your God. Some of the things, think about this. This is so awesome just to consider that he measured all the waters, which well over 70% of the earth is covered with water. And yet it says he measured it in the hollow of his hand. He meted out the heavens with a span of a hand, which is the distance from your thumb to your little finger. Just trying to give you a little bit of mental imagery that God used, and not that God has a hand. As an invisible spirit that's everywhere, that's omnipresent, he does not have a hand unless he appears as a theophany. But anyway, that's another story for another day. And so he measured all this out, and so amazing is our God, and that then at the end that he's going to renew our strength when we put our faith and trust in him. And so I hope you're renewed today by the promises of God and the hope of God that he is coming, and there is victory for those that follow him and that live for him and that strive to be righteous and do what's right. And God added to Hezekiah, not only added to him, he added him 15 years, but he also said, I'm not going to let Assyria overthrow you, which otherwise would have happened. But because Hezekiah humbled himself and prayed, and God healed him. And so the young men will wax weary, the youth shall faint, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. And by the way, I use the divine name Yahweh rather than the substitute Lord with all caps. And so anyway, that's just something I'm very passionate about. And so I love you. God bless you. I hope you have a great day in Jesus.